The Pokemon game series is a series that has Pokemon, and Pokemon can learn moves. And usually Pokemon use those moves in battle against other Pokemon. And really this entire intro segment could just be multiple paragraphs of explaining the joke, but if you've ever played an RPG in your entire life, or for that matter really any fucking video game ever, you get the gist. Can you beat Pokemon Platinum without using any moves? Alright, so let's go ahead and get into the rules. Firstly, as always, we're going to be starting right here. Past the first mandatory rival battle and when we get our Pokeballs and Freedom. And secondly, I can't use any moves. That's it, I guess? Yeah. I guess the only other thing I can say is that I do have a sponsor with Audible at the end. So if you're somebody like me who likes books and is way too ADHD ridden to actually read said books, check it out with the link below or stick around till the end so you can hear my affectionate ramblings. Okay? Okay. So fun fact I guess, me being the actual dumbass I am, did not record the beginning. I thought I did, but then I checked OBS and couldn't help but notice, nah. I just forgot to click the fucking start recording button. So that's neat. Granted, the only thing you miss out on is my sick thought process on choosing a starter, but still. I chose Piplup because it's cute. So as always with these challenges, the starter is not going to stick around for long. And in the hypothetical scenario where we somehow get to the final evolution, Empoleon has by far the best defensive typing out of the three, and pretty good defenses, so we're going with that. I named it the Gantrathor because Empoleon reminded me of an aircraft carrier. And I honestly don't really know how or why, but we're running with it. So let's get into the really good news. Unlike the hell that is Pokemon Black, we do not have to waste tens of thousands of antidotes and turns to get a Pokemon that learns Intimidate. We start off with one, Shinx. Now obviously in a challenge where most Pokemon in the early game are going to have physical moves or very weak special moves, reducing their attack to as little as a quarter is going to be immensely helpful because we're not just taking 1 or 2 or 3 tackles. We're going to be taking 35. Or maybe if it's a move like Pound, that's 40. And when you have trainers with Pokemon with multiple moves, maybe multiple Pokemon, or maybe multiple Pokemon with multiple moves, we're going to be taking a lot of hits. So Intimidate is one of the best abilities in the game I could possibly get early on. And Shinx isn't even a bad Pokemon, it's decent. It evolves into Luxray and we don't really have to worry about ground type moves for a very long while. So we went ahead and caught 5 Shinxes. I decided to name them as a collective and call it Puppy. Although this genius naming scheme was amusing for the entire 1/2 of a second I dedicated to thinking, it very quickly devolved into choosing which letters I wanted to keep and which ones I wanted to swap out every time I got a new party member. But once we got our Puppy core, we can move forward to the first route. Every trainer in this route only has 2 Pokemon, all of which have physical moves, which means we're usually only taking 1 damage per move with the exception of critical hits. With our party's combined health pool, that's quite a few hits we can take. And one thing I'm going to discuss immediately, I was initially very intimidated by this run because when I first started a practice run, I realized I couldn't use healing items that didn't have an effect. So for instance, I couldn't use an antidote on a Pokemon that wasn't poisoned. And in Pokemon Sapphire, that's the same case. And if you used a Pokeball against a trainer, it would actually use up that Pokeball. So that's why in that game I had to change up the rule set because any Pokemon that knew Mean Look or any other move that had me stay into a battle and couldn't swap, literally softlocked me. I couldn't do a thing about that. But fortunately in this game we can use Pokeballs. So we can throw a Pokeball at an enemy trainer, the trainer will block it, the turn will pass and it'll come back to our inventory. Which is so helpful. I did also prepare for this to not be the case by installing a macro, so basically if I press a button, for example H, that would send out my second Pokemon. If I press J, that would send out my third, and so on and so forth. And I'll be using this macro throughout the entire run, because there are still many scenarios where swapping Pokemon in and out and in and out and in and out is going to be superior to just wasting a turn. However, just having the option of wasting a turn opens up a lot of strategies that we can utilize. To get back on topic with the first route, guess what? We don't have to spend over a fucking 100 hours to get to the first gym. We got to the first town in under 18 minutes, which is... Look, I don't think I have to say it, spending 100 hours in one route grinding Pokemon is just never an enjoyable experience. And another bonus to Pokemon Platinum, as if we haven't had enough of those, we can immediately get a Poison Point Pokemon with Budew. Now if you don't know, Poison Point is an ability that, if an enemy makes contact with us, there's a 30% chance that they will get poisoned. And in all truthfulness, it's not really that great of an ability. However, in a challenge such as this one, the capability of even being able to inflict damage at all is a massive help. And throughout this run, we're going to be searching for Pokemon with specific abilities to fill out that criteria. So I went ahead and caught 2. I named it Owie in honor of Owie 1 and Owie 2, and the second one I named Zwei. I tried to make a pun with 2 and Owie and decided this was probably the closest I was going to get. Is it really all that close? No, but I thought I'd let you know on the thought process at the very least. In terms of replacing the Pubby crew, I decided to shorten it to Pib, because it sounded like a vaguely cute name and there's room for swapping around letters if need be, like Pub, or Pip, or Bup. So anyways, despite my unique naming scheme that would make George R.R. Martin envious, it's time for our first rival battle. And this one is pretty RNG reliant. As it stands, Barry has a massive level lead on us, meaning even with as little as a quarter of attack, he'll still consistently do 3 to 4 damage, and critical hits often deplete close to our entire health bar. So this battle I entirely skipped past the Intimidate part, and hoped for a very early Poison Point before swapping Pib in and out. And this was very ineffective, but after about 3 tries we finally got RNGesus on our side and we got past Barry. And with that, we're already at our first gym, and our first major roadblock. So if Barry required a lot of RNG, Roark required an unnecessary amount. So let's get one thing out of the way immediately. Geodude starts off with Stealth Rocks, so immediately our entire gimmick with Pib is already, well, it's pretty much just suicide. Taking a few points of damage every swap is very impactful, and it adds up extremely quickly. And since Geodude's only attack is Rock Throw, we also can't rely on Owie or Zwei to get a poison off. At first, this is a little bit difficult, but entirely reasonable. The next Pokemon is when the strategy gets very fucky as he has an Onix, with Rock Throw and Screech. So now, if we stay in against Onix, we fucking die. But if we keep swapping in and out against Onix, we also fucking die. So, I went ahead and caught an Onix of my own, just because it's so defensively bulky, and because it has a really good typing, which is resistant to rock. And this helped out a bit, but even then, this basically reduced the battle to one statement. If Onix gets a critical hit, the battle is over. And with 15 PP, that isn't an absurd claim to make. So basically we had to survive Geodude, with hopefully no crits, and then get to a point in the Onix encounter where it exhausted all of its PP on non-critical hits before it struggles itself. Which took a while, and we had very limited potions and currently no real way of getting any more money. But eventually had good enough RNG that those two were out of the count, and luckily Cranidos for a change has nothing but contact moves, which is very relieving, as no joke, if it didn't have a contact move I'd have to restart the run and min-max every dollar I got and spent perfectly. And even then I'd have to min-max the battle and hope for perfect RNG. So we go ahead and poison him fairly easily, beat Roark, get the gym badge, unlock Rock Smash, and can proceed through this route. Well, first there is a mandatory battle with Team Galactic, but it is a double battle with Dawn, who just completely wipes the floor with them, so there's no need to worry. And fortunately, with the exception of a few Zubats and a Stunky, every Team Galactic member can be harmed by Poison Point, and those exceptions aren't really strong enough for them to bust through my Pokemon. So luckily for us, the struggle isn't too dire yet, and we can actually go ahead and skip all the way to Eterna Forest and meet up with a blessing. Cheryl. So there are a few trainers out in the world that follow you around, and every random encounter you get into now has 2 Pokemon. But the important part to note is that the second trainer does their own thing. Meaning for the first time in this entire run, we have a consistently viable way to actually grind experience and money, which has been our biggest thorn in our side thus far. Now I won't lie, Cheryl kind of sucks. I honestly didn't even think it was humanly possible for Chansey to die to 2 fucking Wurmples, but she found a way. But trust me when I say, when every random encounter takes an utmost minimum of 9 turns with godly Poison Point RNG, I will take this and I will take it with joy. I did get my Pokemon up a few levels, however I did make a very big mistake here. I made it out of Eterna Forest, which means Cheryl is no longer an option, and I'm back on my own. And really, I didn't think I grinded up enough to be comfortable with the next encounters. And what's better is most of the Pokemon in the next gym can't even be poisoned. Or if they can, usually they have another move they spam before their contact moves, so... yeah, fucking whoopsie. We're gonna have to pick up farm now. Experience is great, but really our best bet against the next gym is going to be tons upon tons upon tons of healing items. So luckily we do have access to a pickup Pokemon with Pachirisu, but our grinding is going back to what I said earlier. Hoping the wild Pokemon attacks us, gets Poison Point off, and after every encounter, hope we get a solid pickup. Luckily we can get quite a bit of money by doing some more backtracking and picking up some more hidden items, and I even found an ill Zubat. I caught it out of a sense of guilt because healthy Zubats aren't green, and I named it Gogurt. So after about 2 hours of praying to RNGesus for good pickups and some Lord of the Rings Extended Edition, I finally took on the gym. So let me mention the elephant in the room. This fucking speed up function. I've been abusing it thus far because God knows I sure as hell wasn't going to be able to get through this with my sanity intact without it. And I want to say off the top of my head, this is roughly 10 to 15 times speed, depending on where I am in the world and what I'm doing. With that 10 to 15 times speed, it took me over an hour of attempts to finally beat Gardenia. Yet again, it's another case of spam heals and pray to whatever god may exist that I do not get critted. We can poison Turtwig, but sadly that's where the pros end. Unlike Roark, we have to deal with primarily special moves and multiple moves with lots and lots of PP. So if we had to survive 30 rock throws for Roark, we now had to survive at least 17 Grass Knots or Razor Leafs, depending on how cooperative Turtwig is, and then another 20 Grass Knots Magical Leafs, and then another 20 Grass Knots Magical Leafs, as well as 35 Poison Stings. Also keep in mind, Struggle isn't just self-damage, it does a lot of damage to me as well. So in total, that's at least 132 attacks, as well as at least 18 struggles. Thinking about surviving 150 attacks with slightly underleveled Pokemon, yeah, this took me a while. But eventually, after so many attempts, I managed to survive the onslaught with all of my Pokemon either dead or at single-digit HP, and all of my healing items depleted. Yeah. Now luckily, if there is a god out there, it is with us today, as again, we only have to sit through one Team Galactic battle before gaining access to another Cheryl. But this time, a really confident Cheryl that usually one-shots most wild Pokemon. For this grind in particular, I decided to use either Luxio, Onix for whatever reason, and 4 Pachirisus. And I never mentioned the Pachirisu naming scheme. I think I forgot to because there wasn't one at all. And that's coming from the guy who literally has Onix the Onix on board. So yeah, it was time for more pickup grinding in Lord of the Rings. Thanks HBO Max for not sponsoring this video, but for being better than that trash heap Netflix. Also, shameless plug, but I've been listening to it on Audible too, as well as fucking Game of Thrones and StarCraft Evolution. My god. Where's Tom Bombadil? No, seriously, where did Tom Bombadil go? Why is he not in the movies? Old Tom Bombadil is a merry fellow, bright blue his jacket is, and his boots are yellow. None have ever caught him, for Tom he is the master. His songs are stronger songs, and his feet are faster. Anyways, we got a whole bunch of levels and a decent amount of money. And I is now a Luxray. Also, I went ahead and replaced Ally and Zwei, as the friendship requirements to get them to Roselia are extremely annoying, and guess what? There are Wild Roselia on this route, and they're higher level than the two that I currently have. So I'm going to go ahead and pull a Russia and edit these two out and pretend as if they never existed. Now I should have stuck here a bit longer admittedly, but the reason I left early was for one big reason. After the next gym is the Pokemon Daycare, which means a whole lot of levels. Even if it'll eat away at our money, if we're at the very least on a similar level to our opponents for once, we'll naturally waste less money per battle because economics. And luckily for us, the next gym battle isn't all that hard. And I really do mean one gym battle, as there's only one mandatory trainer, who is Fantina. Now we did have to waste a bit of money here, as Fantina's Miss Magius has a monstrously high special attack stat and some great moves to back it up. But Haunter only has Shadow Claw, and despite its immunity to poison, 3 out of 4 of its moves are entirely reliant on us using moves, which we obviously aren't. And lastly, Duskull poisons itself fairly easily by spamming Pursuit and Shadow Sneak. And fortunately for us, it is daycare time. And I want to say immediately, despite the fact I am not going to intentionally overlevel this challenge. Despite the fact I can get to an insanely high level now, I think I have enough to give every party member roughly 20 levels. It's kind of boring and gets rid of the entire appeal of the challenge if I can just stick in and tank every single hit. So I'm going to try and stay within a healthy-ish level range. Now luckily for us, and by for us, I mean me, Lord of the Rings is still hard carrying. I think chronologically about at this point I was on the 2 towers? Yeah, I was, cause that was when, meat's back on the menu, boys! So, yeah. This had absolutely no relevance, but what the fuck am I supposed to talk about here? I went back and forth over and over again. I got Ally and Zwei to a pretty respectable level 36, as well as getting I to level 42 and P to 36. Doing so we can get to the next town with a few hiccups, and this is where we run into a problem. We're broke. We are insanely broke. College student who's only eating ramen noodles because they want to get by and really need his degree level broke. So we need to find a way to get money, and god damn it, pickup farming is annoying. But I got a solution. Gambling. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of gambling. So at the next town there's a game corner, and by buying the cheapest TMs we have a pretty handy conversion rate of 2 credits per Pokédollar. And me being the mathematical fucking idiot that I am, spent $10,000 for 500 credits, which is roughly a $9,750 sink. So to continue that college metaphor, now we are in an immense amount of student debt, and what the fuck are we going to do? We don't have our degree yet. I don't know. Gamble. Problem. Gambling takes time. We don't have time. We need money now. Problem 2. JG Wentworth 877 Cash Now does not exist in a Pokemon world. What do? Automate the fucking gambling. Absolutely nothing wrong can happen if we let the AI take care of our finances. There are monkeys on Wall Street that have made more money than professional investors. I trust it. And trust it I did. I set up a macro where every time I press the 1 key, it presses all the buttons on the DS's buttons. I think it's ABXY. Point is, it presses all the buttons. And then I set up a program to spam the 1 button every 0.5 seconds. So doing this, I set up a gambling bot. Is this cheesy? Yes, but if you think I'm going to gamble for 150 hours, fuck you. I went to bed and woke up to roughly 20,000 Pokédollars. Look, the bot was automatic, not efficient, okay? That's like one soda pop every 2 hours. That's almost 25 cents an hour. And really, I'm sure in some countries and some living places... I had a capitalism joke here, but Audacity is giving me a very clear warning, informing me I only have enough disk space for 117 hours and 32 minutes worth of recording. So I don't think I have enough time for the joke. Plus, I think I make enough capitalism jokes that people unironically think I'm a communist, which is admittedly kind of weird logic, but maybe I should let it rest. Also, really cool news. After this, we're getting what may very well be the most OP Pokemon in any of these challenges, Hippopotas. Yes, this is the first game in which we can actually utilize Sandstream and Snow Warning, which is just a bloody Christmas miracle. Every turn the sandstorm or the hail rages on, that does 1/16 of a Pokemon's max health every turn, with a few exceptions. It's not much, but by the endgame with these two abilities combined, we can damage any type in the game without relying on contact moves. And really any Pokemon that can shorten a battle by potentially hundreds of turns is a Pokemon I would really love to have on board. For right now, there's only one glaring weakness, which is that we only have Sandstream and Poison Point, which obviously means that any Steel type will just be able to completely wall us off. But that should hopefully be resolved soon enough. For now, the next gym is a fighting gym, and it was just stupidly easy. Between all the contact moves, physical moves that can be weakened with Intimidate, and our newly unlocked Hippo, we can kind of just shred the gym with ease. There is one big exception with Lucario, who was very, very scary, but with all the money we grinded earlier, we can just utilize X defenses and X special defenses, which just kind of made the battle a joke. Oh yeah, I should probably mention the Veilstone department store. It has a lot of cool stuff in it. Like the previously mentioned X defenses, a few other utility items such as guard spec, $200 lava cookies, which is just incredible, and every soft drink. And if I'm correct, barring some very obvious examples such as using a potion on a Chansey or another really high health Pokemon, in terms of price and how much healing you're getting for the price, this is by far the best item you can buy. For comparison, here's the rates compared to Soda Pop, Lemonade, and Moo Moo Milk. It's really, really nice to spam. Anyways, after this, we can proceed to the next route, which has a lot of really nice hidden items laid out that we can sell for more and more money. And then the next gym with the Water Gym, which was really, really hard. Very few Pokemon in this gym know any contact moves, which means our only way of dealing damage right now is with Sandstream, which is good. Please do not get me wrong, I'd rather not PP stall every Pokemon here. But simultaneously this would make the gym either one huge paywall or a backtrack fest. For reasons that should be very blatant, I decided to go with the backtrack route, which meant every time I beat a trainer, I had to do all the puzzles, get all the way back to the Pokemon Center, heal up my Pokemon, get back to the gym, do the puzzles all over again, defeat the next trainer, do the puzzles again to get to the Pokemon Center, and then do them again to get to the next trainer, and rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat. It was annoying, but with how important healing items are, it's by far the best option we have. I will say, funnily enough though, the gym leader is entirely exempt from this, as every single Pokemon he has knows a contact move, so he was defeated pretty easily. But goddamn was the gym itself actually really, really annoying. Also, I unlocked Surf and realized I didn't have a Pokemon to use Surf or Fly, but I realized there was a wild Pokemon outside of town that could learn both, and I embarked on my great quest to find it. It has a 10% encounter rate, so it took me a while to find it, but do you know what I found first? Why must you do this, Pokemon Platinum? So yeah, I caught this mistake too, and eventually caught the Pokemon I really wanted to find, Wingull. With his newfound power, I can push forward into this route, which is just an enjoyable experience for all. I also got a metric fuck ton of Moo Moo Milk, and we have our first fight against Cyrus, who for the most part, at least for now, is more of the same. We also get to the next town and we can start the Iron Islands. But first I decided to catch another party member. With Surf unlocked, we can now catch Magmar, who if I'm not mistaken is the only Pokemon available in the main game that has the Flame Body ability, which if you don't know is the fire equivalent of Poison Point, which burns instead of poisons. I named him Boober because I have the maturity of a 4-year-old and I find its Japanese name amusing. It's no Magmortar, Boo Burn is some of the most quality naming I've ever seen in Pokemon, but this'll work for now. Afterwards, we get to the Iron Islands and have this guy and his Lucario do stuff for us. I could've, and probably should've, grinded pickup here, but I decided against it, and just pushed forward to the end to get a shiny stone for a Roserade. Now, when I said I could've and should've grinded here, here's the reason why. The next gym is a Steel Gym, which obviously means we can't poison it, and Sandstorm just does nothing but harm our team. I guess we do have Boober now to inflict burns, but a lot of the Pokemon don't really utilize physical moves, and the few that do, usually just have non-contact moves anyway. So yeah, I backtracked through a bunch of routes and picked up some more hidden items, but even by the end with $20,000 at my disposal, I still didn't really feel comfortable enough that would be able to beat the gym. So yep, it's gambling time again. I got about 15,000 Pokédollars and decided that was as good of time as any to head to the next gym. I went ahead and got all of my healing items and didn't really level up my team for whatever reason, and did a lot of really fun and interesting battles. So yeah, I hate to say it, but despite everything I just said, this entire gym was just struggle stalling. Healing, setting up X defenses and special defenses, and throwing Pokeballs until the gym was over. I'm going to just leave it at that because as much as I would love to go, well, Byron has a super brutal battle that I swapped into Luxray against, then swapped into Luxray, then swapped into Luxray, then swapped into Luxray for 20 minutes to increase my ad revenue and watch time analytics. For both your and my sake, I'd rather just skip it. We beat Byron, Team Galactic is just not up to no good, let's beat him up. Now luckily all the battles here are just as easy as before, if not easier with the introduction of Boober and Darude, and we can finally catch the one and only Snowbama. Obviously this is going to be our Snow Warning Pokemon, and this is without hyperbole the most powerful team we've ever had in any Pokemon challenge I've ever done. It has every base covered, and no joke, the only things I could hypothetically go, yeah, this would improve the team, such as swapping out Luxrays for a really good regenerator Pokemon, or having some sort of damaging held item, such as Iron Helmet, aren't in this game. And I guess if I really wanted to, I could grind leftovers with pickup, or get really good natures for the entire team, or some other min-maxy horseshit. But outside of that, this is the Goon Squad. These are the champions. Pi, Snowbama, Owie, Boober, and Darude. Still not original names, mind you, that is way too much to expect out of me, but goddamn it is it a team. Also, I went ahead and leveled them up a ton, so they're roughly about where they need to be for the rest of the game. This time I finished the Lord of the Rings trilogy while doing so. The extended trilogy. That's how long these grinded sessions lasted, and we can push forward. This route is as enjoyable as it always is, who doesn't like not being able to see and having little to no movement? And I entirely forgot the pathing for this gym. I could be entirely wrong with this statement, but I'm nearly positive that you can actually battle Candace without fighting a single trainer. But I ended up fighting a few anyways, which weren't too difficult. And once we get to the gym leader, she's pretty standard for this part of the run. Terrifying, mind you, do not get me wrong, all of her Pokemon are individually scary, but manageable. Sneasel is by far the easiest, usually just burning itself or poisoning itself and dying. Piloswine is an annoyance with only one contact move and being one of the only Pokemon in the entire game that resists both Snow Warning and Sandstream. But with some good RNG, you can still get it to hurt itself with Avalanche, and Abomasnow usually just kills itself with Woodhammer, honestly. Frostlass is a huge annoyance with a stupidly powerful specially offensive set. but at the very least Sandstream still damages it, and she already wasted all of her healing items earlier, so she just had free reign to sweep my team for 16 turns until it eventually died. And it was actually perfect timing too, as I would have had to waste one of my very valuable revives at the end since my very last Pokemon was Snowbama, which wouldn't have killed the Frostlass for blatant reasons. But we got the gym badge, Team Galactic was still up to comic antics, and I did the same thing I did with the Steel Gym for this onslaught. I was already running out of money, so what I would do was beat a trainer, go back and heal, come back, beat another trainer, go back and heal, and rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat. It took a while, but luckily the Team Galactic headquarters actually has a metric fuck ton of hidden items, and a lot of which sell for thousands upon thousands a pop. So after this, I got another handy stockpile of healing items and a Master Ball. So now instead of throwing peasant Pokeballs at my enemy, I can throw Master Balls. Which funnily enough is actually the best Pokeball to throw at your enemies, because you can't sell the Master Ball and generally doesn't matter what Pokeball you're using, so... yeah, by the end when we're scraping every bit of money we can get, we're actually going to be spamming the Master Ball the entire way through. So that's comedy. So yeah, afterwards we get to Mount Coronet, go up and up and up and up and up, Team Galactic members and Cyrus are still being a bitch, Distortion World is just as much of a trip as ever, and Cyrus was virtually the same exact fight for the third time in a row. Hence why I actually didn't mention his second encounter from earlier. Then there's Giratina. I decided to go ahead and kill it because if I tried to catch it, that is valuable money going to a Pokemon I will never use, and quite frankly I'm just not too terribly fond of that. So Giratina went ahead and poisoned itself and fucking died. And afterwards I got another 55 grand to waste on healing items and... look, I'm not terribly fond of doing this, but I'm actually going to skip this entire gym leader and skip all the way to the Elite Four and Victory Road. In terms of our team, we have the perfect team, as I said earlier. This gym wasn't really all that difficult. Victory Road was a minor annoyance at most, and this is probably the best tell of this, but the most eventful thing that happened at all was that a wild Futzel used, like, Mean Look or Whirlpool or some other ability that means I couldn't escape, so I had to throw an Ultra Ball at it to get it to go away. When that is the most eventful thing I have to comment on, yeah, I hope you can see why I'm doing this. And also, again to chronologically break this video, I just flat out failed the Elite Four. I'm not gonna waste your time, even with 70 grand wasted on healing items and conservative item usage and very, very efficient swap outs, I died. I couldn't beat it. And as you probably could have guessed, the trainer that I died on was Cynthia. And you know what, I thought, okay, maybe I'm like 3 or 4 or 5 healing items off of beating her, so I tried again. I mean, after all, she only has 2 Pokemon left, that really can't be too much of a variable, right? Nope. Even with $20,000 more spent on healing items and selling everything in my inventory that wasn't useful, she still beat me again. And even as a small experiment, I decided to just spam save states to see if it was even possible to defeat her with the best RNG imaginable, and you know what? No, I couldn't, even with the best RNG and spamming this battle in save states for 30 minutes straight, I was still about 5 or 6 healing items off of a victory. So, yeah, she's fucking hard. Guess what? More backtracking, more selling, more gambling, more items, more leveling, and at this point in the challenge it was actually soft reset central. In the Elite Four, if a Pokemon knew a contact move and didn't get poisoned within 2 or 3 hits at most, that was just a wipe. There wasn't even a point in trying to continue the fight anymore, try again. So if it wasn't evident by the fact that I'm only just now stating this, the third time was indeed the charm. And if I had to be honest, during some of these fights, I still had to utilize save states. And really, if this failed, my only option was going to be to drastically overlevel my Pokemon because everything here dealt massive damage, had great type coverage, the special sweepers were really strong, there's some Pokemon with really, really scary setup moves, and critical hits just completely fucked over my run. So every single battle became this very annoying game of bait out the Pokemon that countered my team the most, and then swap into a Pokemon, give it a trillion X items, and stall. Darude was our main option against Aaron since the only super effective move against it was Drapion Ice Fang. Bertha was extremely annoying because her type literally countered my entire team, so just constant swap-ins and swap-outs against every Pokemon, just praying we get a Flame Body or Poison Point proc. And even that was difficult as I had to repeat this battle 7 to 8 times just to get good enough RNG. Flint was mostly just setting up Boober and Darude, and although this should have trivialized his battle, and he should have been the easiest one by far, he got crits constantly, and I had to waste quite a few valuable healing items and soft resets to finally get past him. And Lucian was by far the worst defender of a paywall with a staggering 3 contact moves. And all those contact moves were on Pokemon that could very easily wreck the Pokemon that I was trying to swap into to bait a burn or a poison. And outside of that, nothing but specially offensive, high power, high volatility Pokemon. Bronzong in particular was the scariest, as with Calm Mind and Psychic, it could very easily wipe out our team with as little as 1 critical hit. This was, no joke, the hardest gauntlet I ever had to endure in a Pokemon challenge yet. Everything killed me, and in a sense, I'm almost glad I got through it fine eventually because again, the alternative was just drastically overleveling my team to 70, 80, maybe even level 90. But, even with this great RNG, it's still not over as by far the strongest trainer awaited us in the next room. Cynthia was a bastard. Like, literally everything on her team sucked to fight against. Spiritomb knew 0 contact moves, and 3 out of 4 of those moves had the potential to lower my stats or raise hers, which was almost always an immediate reset. Roserade was the same thing, but with the added fuck you of Toxic, meaning that previously mentioned strategy of constantly raising our stats with X items was often interrupted with a mandatory Lava Cookie or Antidote just to stay alive. Togekiss is more of the same, granted with a bit less RNG but still a very nasty moveset. Lucario could only get burned with 1 move, and it knew Stone Edge, meaning it could very easily kill Boober if I was unlucky enough. Milotic, if you can sense the thematic here, had a very nasty special set, and Garchomp was... it was fucking Garchomp. We had to get extremely lucky and get an early burn off, and then mass intimidate it, or die trying. So look, at this point this team was the Raid Shadow Legends of Pokemon. Use code Cynthia to get an arbitrary amount of currency for a terrible game because god damn it, even with my literal $120,000 worth of healing items and I would wholly consider some of the best RNG possible, by the end we were still excruciatingly close to resetting with only 2 Pokemon alive and maybe 15,000 worth of healing items remaining. So yeah, we finally beat Cynthia. After 3 grueling hours of attempt after attempt after attempt, at 10 to 15 times speed mind you, and constant RNG, assault, and depression, we were able to topple the champion and beat Pokemon Platinum without using any moves at a whopping 361 hours of in-game playtime. Jesus Christ. So let's go ahead and talk about something entirely different. This video is indeed sponsored by Audible, which is kind of a bizarre thing to say as someone who's been listening to audiobooks more and more and more over the last year or so. So for the first time ever in a sponsored segment, I'm actually going to compliment Kansas on something. So prepare yourself because this is a Davey world first. Kansas, despite everything awful and boring and dreadful and awful about it, is an extremely relaxing state to drive through. It's statistically flatter than a pancake, traffic isn't that bad, conditions aren't terrible unless you're driving through a tornado, and the drivers are at least comparatively to other states, pretty decent, at least anecdotally. And as someone who goes out of town on a semi-frequent basis, I find one of the most relaxing things to do while driving is to put on a podcast or an audiobook to listen to while driving. And Audible has both of those covered in spades. I also tend to put it on while editing and recording videos, and if I have a more relaxing day at the gym, I tend to put it on while doing stretches or cardio or something like that. And cool news, if you go to www.audibletrial.com/Davey Gunface, you can get a free audiobook and support the channel, which is just a win-win for the both of us. If you want some recommendations from yours truly, I'm actually starting book 2 of both Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings, which is... Well, if you really want bang for your buck on that free audiobook, it's really hard to go wrong with either of these, because they're a bit massive. However, if you'd rather have a shorter and slightly more refined experience, which is fair enough, I've actually really been loving StarCraft Evolution. I am a massive geek when it comes to StarCraft lore, and I really love it, so it's been enjoyable to listen to, and I've been listening to it a ton while recording for one of my next videos, which is, not rather coincidentally, a StarCraft video. But if you're more of a Warhammer 40k guy, the Infinite and the Divine is also really, really good. And really, I could give you recommendation after recommendation after recommendation, but there's so many options that you can just kinda look up anything and you'll find something that's great for you. So again, www.audibletrial.com/Davey Gunface. Get your free book and, listen to it, I guess. Yeah. Thanks again, Audible, for letting me promote my crippling addiction to others. Cheers.